today we have the team Ricochet with us. The topic of their presentation is bouncing back from setbacks. I would like to wish the team good luck. May your efforts yield a positive outcome. Now I welcome Anya Valecha, the mentor of the team, to start with the presentation. Over to you, Anya.
A very warm welcome to everyone. I would like to begin by thanking Anand Global Foundation for this opportunity, for this great learning experience in the last 15 days. And also I would like to extend my gratitude to all the jury members present here today. I'm Anya Valecha. I'm the mentor of the team, the Ricochets, and my teammates are Riva Gandhi, Sneha Vich, Komal Torani, and Ariman Jain. As the name suggests, Ricochet, our topic is bouncing back from setbacks. And being a part of this project has been greatly insightful for me as well. For even I have learned a lot about how unconsciously and subconsciously we deal with setbacks and failures and how we plan to overcome them. So without taking much of your time, I would like to hand the mic to my teammates and we'll be starting with the presentation now.
I hope my screen is visible.
Yeah, it's visible.
So first of all, good morning to all the jury members here. And I think we all have faced setbacks in our life, but this topic has a personal meaning for me. I would like to share my experience with such an incident. I, which is called You Can Cry Your Heart Out, which is called You Can Cry Your Heart Out. And I first started in the 8th standard. In the 8th standard, I won every debate. But when I got in the 9th standard, it was my low point. I lost every debate in which I had participated in, and I felt very demotivated. I didn't talk to anybody for a week. Also, didn't tell my parents or friends about how I was feeling. In school, also, I just sat alone in the corner where nobody could see me. After a week, I finally mustered up the courage to talk to my parents, and they told me something which I can never forget in my entire lifetime. They told me that setbacks are never meant to make you demotivated. You should face setbacks with an optimistic attitude. I, real, I realized that what my parents said is true, and I applied this to my life. I started taking parts in debate again in the 10th standard, and and I won almost every single debate in the 10th standard. I was very happy. This setback made me realize that failure is never meant to make you demotivated, as fail stands for first attempt in learning.
Hi, I'm Sneha Vej, and I would like to talk to everyone about an academic setback that I experienced. Ever since I started studying maths, I just hated the subject completely. That was mainly because I was not good at it at all. And while all of my peers excelled in it, I always felt demotivated and sad because I couldn't keep up with them. And for some time, I totally gave up on the subject, while others told me that it's okay, maths is not your cup of tea, you don't need to study it, which only made me feel worse about myself. But when I was 14 years old, I thought that this setback is not helping me at all. I'm not getting any better, so I decided I will conquer my fear of the subject and my hatred. And then I gave my best and I tried very hard. I studied maths from the very basics and I was able to completely understand the subject and I no longer hated the subject. And even now, I really like maths. So I just want to say that what may sometimes seem impossible to you, that is actually not impossible because you have great potential and you can do anything if you work hard enough and most importantly, if you have faith in yourself.
From my teammates' experience, one thing is clear that we all have faced failure at some point of our life. Failure is the state or condition of not meeting a desirable or intended objective. It comes in all shapes and sizes, from losing a tennis game or not getting a promotion or to lose someone important in your life. Failure is something that everybody is afraid of, but in reality, what people are actually afraid of is the meaning that society has attached to the word. In today's society, failure has earned such a bad name that nobody in their right mind wants to be associated with it. It strikes to me that human life was built on the foundation of failure. Have you ever enjoyed the privilege of watching a small baby walk for the first time? It's an amazing sight. But most babies do not succeed the first time they try. They often fall and cry, and then something interesting happens. Every baby tries again, and in a couple of months, they all are running all over the place. Those same legs that couldn't stand and walk will now learn to run. That's what life is about. To succeed in most things, failure is often involved.
So now we are going to talk about the aspects in which people face setbacks. There are four aspects. The first is family, second academics, third professional, and the fourth social. So first we are going to talk about family. So the first one is family, and as the name suggests, it relates to having issues in your families, or as we say, family problems. Some of the examples of it can be losing a relative which was very close to you, or having relationship issues. Now, the second one is professional. Fired from your job or getting demotivated by your colleagues on an idea that you have thought of. Now we would come to the third one, which is academic. I think academic setback is the one which me and my fellow teammates can totally relate to because we have faced them one or the other way in our life. It includes not getting good marks in your exam or flunking a subject. Also, one of the most common academic setback is not getting admission in your favorite college. Now, I would like to go to the fourth one and the last one, which is social. So, a social aspect include facing setbacks in your social aspect of life. It includes getting commented on your appearance, on your personality, on your skin color, on your body type, or on your behavior. Now comes the impact of the setback on us. Second, setbacks makes the same goal seem less attainable. Third, its setbacks often lead to self-sabotaging. So the first one I would like to discuss is failure makes the same goal seem less attainable. After a failure or a setback, you become less inclined towards the goal, which you were earlier inclined to the most. You think that you cannot achieve the goal, and you do not even try to achieve the goal a second time, as you as you make preconceived assumption that you will fail the second time also. And I also have included some facts here, which you can read in the blue box, that failure also distorts your perception of your ability. And the second one, failure makes you believe you are helpless, which you are not. And the second one is if it often leads to unconscious self-sabotaging. So there are two types of self-sabotaging. One is conscious and the next one is
यार ये इसका कितना नेट
unconscious.
कितना फंबल कर रही है ये, क्या कर रही है, हार जाएंगे.
So it is when you sabotage yourself without even realizing that you are sabotaging yourself, and as the name suggests, unconsciously. It can include making excuses for not scoring good marks in exam by saying that you had gone to a party the other day, or making excuses of having a headache before a big game. So as you could see, a single comment made by a fellow teammate totally blew my self-confidence off, and it could also be seen in the way which I was presenting. I was unconsciously self-sabotaging the presentation on which I have been working on for days now. And now we come to the third and the last impact, which is suicide and depression. So suicide and depression have become very common among teenagers, especially during the times of COVID-19, as the city is in entire lockdown and we cannot talk to our friends, meet them, or not go out as much as we could, which is leading to depression and which can ultimately lead to suicide, which is not a good thing. Also, if I come to the next slide and shed some light on the graph, then you can see that suicide has drastically increased among the ages of 15 to 29, which proves the point that I have as earlier said that most of the young adults and teenagers are facing depression in today's time, and depression can ultimately lead to suicide, which can also be shown in the graph in front of you. Me and my fellow teammates have made a short movie about the impact of setbacks on people of completely three different generations and how they overcame it.
So tell us, Ishan, what was your setback and how you overcame it?
I had recently got rejected by my favorite college, which came to me as a failure as I tried really hard and gave my best for it. I was so disheartened that for first few days I didn't step out of my home to meet my friends as I couldn't face them. My sleeping pattern was also disturbed. My family members were really worried about me, so they contacted my friends and together they planned something to cheer me up. They kept a small party for me and narrated their stories of such setbacks and motivated me to apply somewhere else as this is not the last resort. Something changed inside me after hearing to them. I got my conscience back and started looking for other colleges. They made me realize that rejection is a part of life and not the end of it.
By Ishan's experience, we learned that having a good social support is very beneficial for fast recovery from a setback. Now we have Ishan's mother to share her experience.
This month, my company was announcing their yearly promotions. I was really optimistic that I will be promoted to the team manager. But fate has something else for me. Unfortunately, I didn't get the promotion I was waiting for so long. It just shook me mentally. I got really irritated. And the day of this news, when I went home, I took out my frustration on my son, which I regretted the next day. I was so upset that I forgot that I should keep my work and professional life separate. At work, I couldn't focus on anything as irrational thoughts hijacked my mind. It took me several days to accept the fact that this promotion is not going anywhere. If not this year, I'll work even more hard to get it next year. I redefined my goal and made strategies towards achieving it.
Thank you, ma'am, for telling us that any challenge one faces in work shouldn't be mixed with the personal life. One should maintain a work life balance. Last but not least, we have Ishan's grandfather to share his experience. Last month, I lost one of my best friends. I really regret not being there with him in his last days. I knew that he was ill, but due to some reasons, I couldn't go for a visit. I felt that I failed as a friend. This regret remained with me for weeks. I couldn't sleep, think, or eat properly because of it. My sugar levels fluctuated a lot during this period. My son and daughter in law kept asking me if I was okay, if something was bothering me. But I couldn't tell him as I was so ashamed. It was only after the party we held for cheering my grandson that I also opened up about it. They soothed me by telling that it wasn't my fault, even though I couldn't meet him in his last days, but I had remained a loyal friend to him throughout our friendship, and that's what matters. Their words comforted me, and I was finally able to overcome my negative feelings. Thank you, sir, for sharing your story and making us aware the importance of sharing our emotions with people we can rely upon. Compiling things inside us can have serious repercussions. So tell us, Ishan,
Fear of failure. Fear of failure is simply when we let fear become a hindrance in our path, and due to that, we are not able to achieve our goals, which only makes us feel worse about ourselves. On to the next slide. Causes of fear of failure. Sometimes parents create unrealistic expectations from their children, which the children might not be able to fulfill, and then they are given negative consequences for not being able to do so. And due to that, children feel unworthy, incompetent, and they end up having a really low self esteem. Self-esteem. To put it simply, self-esteem is having confidence in oneself. I just want to say you yourself deserve your love more than anyone in the whole world, and you should always respect yourself. On to the next slide. Low self-esteem. To put it in layman's terms, low self-esteem is just not having faith in oneself. People who are suffering from low self-esteem often feel unworthy and incapable of doing anything, and they just feel awful about themselves. Signs of low self-esteem. People with low self-esteem often think that a lot of things are their responsibilities, which is not true at all. And when even a single thing goes wrong, they feel guilty and they think that whatever wrong that has happened, it's because of my own incompetence. So in order to make up for that, they stop prioritizing themselves and putting their own needs forward, and they just start doing what other wants to do more in order to make up for what they lack in personally, which is not true because they're fine just the way are. On to the next slide. Causes for low self-esteem. Now, usually, as they say, a healthy mind resides in a healthy body. So sometimes due to medical issues, one might have low self-esteem or depression. It can be as a symptom, but in some other cases, when you're handicapped, you just might not feel good about yourself because you are a little different from other people, while bullies only make it worse. Now, what a bully think is that according to them, if a person doesn't possess a particular trait that the bully thinks they should have, they decide to make that person feel awful about themselves, which is completely wrong because that person is their own person and they can do or be whatever they want, while unsupportive parents and friends only make it worse, which can often lead to some kind of trauma, which then leads to the person having a mental breakdown and having a really low self esteem. On to the next slide. Why positive self-esteem is important. Positive self-esteem is extremely important because then you can start prioritizing yourself. You might not fear uncertainty. You can go after opportunities and grab them by your hands and achieve your goals and feel just incredible about yourself. How to enhance self-esteem? Apart from all the ways given here, you can practice self-care and self-love by doing whatever you like to do, by spending time with your loved ones who support you and love you, and you can start prioritizing yourself, and you can tell yourself that you are worthy, you are amazing, and you deserve the world. Next slide, please. Now, low self-esteem and the subconscious. Ever since when we are babies, our minds absorb all kind of information around us. Sometimes we observe and collect information on our own, and other times other people give us similar information. And sometimes the information they give us is quite negative, and it's often like meme comments. They might be telling us that as constructive criticism, but we might take it to the heart and feel awful about ourselves. But what we should actually do is believe in ourselves and have faith, and that can be done by practicing affirmations like I am enough, I am amazing, and I deserve everything in the world, and that I am worthy.
We have received 100 responses in our survey, and the demographic is as shown. Majority of the respondents were adolescents of the age group 13 to 18, and 70% respondents were female. So we will move on to the first question. So our first question was, when was your last major setback? We can observe from the analysis that majority of the people faced the setback during the lockdown period, and only 18% people faced the setback a year ago. Coming to the second question, how deeply did it impact you? This question had a rating scale of 1 to 10, in which one of the least impact was scaled at 1 and 10 was the worst impact. Out of 100, maximum chose 8 and 16 people chose 10, which shows that these setbacks can cause severe damage to one's mental health as well. Coming to the third question, the question was, how did you react to it? Out of all our responses, here are a few which show the variability in all the answers that we have received. The first one was, I was calm. The second was, developed severe PTSD and was having frequent anxiety attacks. And the third one, I actually analyzed my mistakes and I'm going to work and I will work hard to improve myself. We can conclude that these setbacks affect people positively as well as negatively.
Our next question was, how long did it take you to recover? From the pie diagram, we can infer that majority of people are still in the recovery stage. The reason can be that they have recently faced a setback or the impact was so severe that they still couldn't be back to their normal self. Also, we find that a large proportion take few days to recover, which indicates that either the setback was less severe or these individuals really have a good social support and strategies to overcome their setbacks. Rest either takes a few days, weeks, or months or years to overcome them, which lights the fact that people really don't have an effective coping mechanism. The next question is, at what age would you say you face the most setbacks? This pie chart shows that majority of setbacks are faced in the adolescence period. One reason is that our survey had the majority of teenagers as respondent, and also because in this stage one's behavior is governed by the social and internal pressure we face from the society. And if they are not able to live up to these expectations, we feel that they have failed. Other than that, we can see that middle age group people face a lot of setbacks, since in this age, individuals' responsibility increases, and with that increases the pressure from the society. Then the highest majority lie in the early adulthood, which indicates that in making one's desired career, one come across many challenges. We could also see that 6% respondents are below 30, which indicates that children too sometimes feel that they have failed. So next time when children say that they are upset, parents should really take them seriously. Our next question is, in which field do you think you faced more setbacks? From the chart, we can infer that people have come across failure in different aspects of life, but the mostly setbacks are faced in personal or social field. This projects the fact that the expectations of society are the root cause for people feeling that they have failed. Next, we can see that people have faced a lot of setbacks in family, which may be because our hard-paced life that we are living in now, that we tend to neglect our close ones.
In this question, we can see that whom do you generally approach for advice? Now, as we can see, 60% of our people who attempted the survey, they approach their friends. That is majorly because our friends know us best and they are usually of the same age as us. And we truly believe in their advice and we really trust them. Now, the second highest is parents, which is 43%. Now, our parents are our continuous support, and we know that they're older than us, so they know life a little better. So, they will give us sound advice for sure, and we can trust them with our lives. Now, as you will see, professional help only has a 7%, which is majorly because in our country, India, psychological help is kind of treated like a taboo, which is totally not the case. Question 8. Do you feel the above people have adequately helped you in overcoming the setback? 62% of the people agree that yes, they have helped them. That is usually because our friends, parents, teachers, or the people we know, or even ourselves, we know us the best and we give sound advice and we can actually use them in our life and we completely trust ourselves. And in the 8% where no, they didn't get much help, we think that that is usually because a therapist or a professional might treat you better. They will completely understand your causes for your problem and give you actual solutions which will work 100%. So you should always go and talk to a professional to help solve your problems completely. Question 9. Have you ever thought of seeking professional help? Now, unfortunately, 66% of the people said no. And that is majorly because, as I previously said, professional help is treated like a taboo in our country. And which is not true at all because professional help is really sound advice and you're actually paying the person, they're working for you. And since you have a neutral relationship with them and they're extremely trained in that field, it is their job to help you sort out your problems and your issues. So they will help you in an incredible way and you will surely see results.
The 10th question was, the first one was, I don't think professional help is that necessary in my situation. From this statement, we can infer that it is not compulsory that you must consult professional help. If you can cope up with it on your own or with the help of your friends and family, it is completely fine. And as stated by the above response, professional help is not necessary in every situation. Now, the second one was Now, the second one was never felt much need for professional help but might consider in the future. I would like to highlight the statement might consider in the future here because people are becoming more and more open minded and the stigma around seeking professional help is slowly decreasing, as we can get to know by the statement that might consider in the future. The third one was I couldn't talk to my parents. For them, our problems are just a tiny dot. My family would laugh at me if I say I need professional help. This is a thought of multiple children around the world. The mindset of some people have still not changed. And not all, but some parents think that the problem of children are just a tiny dot and they can heal on their own very easily. But that is not the case sometimes. The last and the fourth one was I do not want people to interfere in my personal life. I think I'm capable enough to solve my own problems. Sometimes my one or two best friend does help me, but I don't want someone else to solve my problems. So in this statement, ego problem comes here as some people think that they can solve the problems on their own, but that is not the case sometimes. And due to their ego, they resent help from others, which can lead them to face severe problems later on in their future life. Now on to the next slide. The 11th question was, have you been able to apply your learnings from past experience? In this question, we got 100 responses, and as you can see, that 83% of them said yes, 13% of them said maybe, and 4% of them said no. It is a good thing that 83% of them said yes, as more and more people have been able to apply their learnings from past experiences. Now on to the next slide. The last question of our form was any advice you would like to give your younger self. In this question also, we got 100 responses and I had shortlisted 4 of them. The first one was Muskurate Chehre, Raz Kehre. This is a response which I personally found very funny, but it is also my favorite because it has a very deep meaning. कि कभी कभार जो लोग बाहर से बहुत खुश होते हैं वो अंदर से टूटे हुए होते हैं, इसलिए सिर्फ हमें खाली बाहर से ही नहीं पर अंदर से भी मुस्कुराना चाहिए. The second one was no, not to take so much of consideration to those setbacks and move forward in life with full confidence and determination. With these setbacks, we should never drop our dreams, we should move forward to high our goals. This is a very inspirational and motivational response which states that setbacks are just a part of life and we should not take them into so much consideration and we should keep seeking to achieve our goals. Now the third one was never give, बस लगे रहो. हमें कभी भी हिम्मत नहीं हारनी चाहिए और हमें हमेशा अपने सपनों को पाने के लिए कुछ ना कुछ करना चाहिए. The last response of the last question of our form was, if you have problems, then talk about it with the person you trust and take proper med for your problems. In this statement also, I would like to focus on the term take proper med for your problems, as because the response is a true example of how stigma around seeking professional help is slowly decreasing and people are seeking psychiatrists or taking medications for their problems.
While we may like to think of recovering from failure as an inborn character trait, it's really about how well or badly one is able to manage the negative emotions that accompany failure. Some of this is learned behavior, but some has to do with personality of an individual. Psychologists distinguish between individuals who are approach-oriented and those who are largely motivated by avoidance. An individual motivated by approach sees the mountain and decides to climb on it. Knowing that pitfalls may be part of the terrain, he or she prepares for every possibility. If and when the worst happens, this person takes it in stride. In contrast, the avoidant person looks down at the mountain and sees a possible single moment of glory surrounded with many moments of feeling terrible about setbacks and ultimate failure. Their strategies end up more focused on avoiding pitfall than actually climbing on the mountain, which lowers their success rate. Life, however, requires both the strategies. Sometimes you need to display unwavering confidence and double down your efforts, while sometimes you need to abandon the things that aren't working and try something new. Now we'll look at some strategies to overcome failure. First step is to feel your emotions. When you feel that you have failed or might experience painful feelings, notice each emotion as it comes to you. Take time to name the emotion, be it anger, sadness, fear, or shame. Take time to process your feelings. If you try to fix or move past your disappointment before knowing how you feel, you may act impulsively. The next step is to reframe the setback. This doesn't mean that you have to relive the setback or to pretend that it did happen. There are two ways to reframe from a failure. First is counterfactual thinking. It's thinking about what might have happened in a structured way that separates it from pipe dreams and only if thinking. It motivates you to take action the next time and take responsibility instead playing the blame game. Second strategy is to practice positive reframing. Positive reframing is all about discovering the positivities in any situation, even in the worst ones. Failure is a subjective term. Instead of saying, I failed at finding work, say, I haven't found work yet. Or whitewash, do not attempt to whitewash your mistakes, but state them without judgment. Trying to encourage yourself when you are down. Seeing the human in your situation helps you take a step back and see things from a different angle. The next step is to identify negative thought patterns. While you think that you haven't succeeded, some negative thoughts might arise. Look for evidence for and against these claims. Write down them on an information that goes against the negative self-talk and say it loud to yourself, and you can begin to change your negative thinking. The next step is to stop ruminating over the failure. Try to put your obsessive thinking to rest. Getting it out of your head and down on paper can give you some relief from rumination and help reveal any underlying fears. Use mindful meditation to bring you back from past to the present. The next step is to address the cause of failure. When things go wrong and failure is the result, there's always a reason behind it. Often, it's a combination of reasons. As the first step in coping with failure, it's important to take time to figure out what went wrong, to analyze and dissect each step you took so that you won't make the same mistakes again. This is a critical element in any plan to overcome the negative effects of a failure. The next step is to set realistic goals. Once you have worked through your causes of your past disappointment, work on setting a more realistic and achievable goal for the future. A key step in this process is listing the strengths and weaknesses of yours. You need to know what you're good at and where you need to improve. Once your list is made, you can begin to construct a plan based on your talents and abilities. The seventh step is to practice mental contrasting. Strike a balance between optimistic thinking and realistic planning. First, imagine your desired goal working out beautifully. Let yourself have a visual of total success for a few minutes. Second, switch gears and imagine all the obstacles that might arise. Envisioning the obstacle towards achieving reasonable goals can make you feel energized and more capable of tackling your issues. The next step is to change your approach. Brainstorming of ideas and select the one that seems the steadiest. Use mental contrasting to test the solution out in your head. Avoid repeating the same mistakes. Create a plan B. Even well-executed approaches can fail due to unforeseen complications. Make sure you re-enter the fray with a solid backup plan. The last step is to try again. With your new goal set and a new plan solidified, set out to achieve your goal. Take the time to reflect on your progress as your steps take effect. Feel free to change your objects. Since you are a learning stage as you go, it is a natural part of this process to adjust and tweak your approach.
So now we'll talk about how mental health is still considered as a taboo in India. So my first point would be the social stigma in India. It's hard to expect a society to care about mental health issues if they don't understand them. Psychologists and mental health experts are trying to change that. There is no clear understanding of what mental health care is in India. And the biggest challenge is understanding that the mental health is a priority and should be a priority. Everyone wants to deny that there is a problem because acknowledging that there is one means you'll have to change it. Change is difficult and requires entirely different ways of interacting with other people in society. Social stigma in India is hiding in plain sight because people do not acknowledge it. It's not about just preparing the patients, it's about preparing society. Everyone needs to buy it into the urgency of shifting societal norms around mental health care in India. Obviously, now my second point is availability of mental health care in India. Regardless of disorder, however, data compiled by India Spend and WHO reveal a staggering treatment gap for all mental health disorders in India. Only 10% of patients in the country get treated. In comparison, in the US, that figure is 44%. In South Korea, 82% get access to treatment. The sheer dearth of experiments is astounding in India. There are 3 psychiatrists for 1 million people. In the UK, there are over 14,000 psychiatrists for one every million. In India, health budget, mental care health costs account for minuscule of 0.6%. In Bangladesh, it is 0.44%, not much higher, but it's still higher. The barriers to receiving adequate care are numerous and enormous. Access to mental health care in India is poor in both urban and rural areas. Nuanced professionals training is not the norm. Insurance doesn't make healthcare affordable. There is an overemphasis on medication. Few even understand the difference between psychological attention and psychiatric care. The list goes on. Now, the third and the most important point, what will people say or log kya kahenge? In India, the singular age-old social percept is relevant for everyone. It cuts across the lines of gender, caste, religion, socio-economic class, and region. It reigns supreme in regulating people's decisions because should people's vulnerabilities become public knowledge, they will invite judgment, gossip, and drama. It also suppresses much needed psychological care. A 2011 World Health Organization sponsored study found out that 36% of the Indians suffered from a major depressive episode, MDE, within their lifetime. That means India has the most number of people in the world who suffer from some form of depression at some point in their lives. The social pressure to be normal manifests in unhealthy stigma and pressure against getting help. Stigma to appear normal, stigma to keep the family drama invisible, stigma to protect the family honor, stigma to force yourself out to the need of help.
Now we look at the lives of some successful people. First is Walt Disney. Walt Disney is known as an extraordinarily successful creative whose vision as an animator, filmmaker, and theme park developer has changed the definition of entertainment in the 20th century and beyond. Yet, if we dig a little deep into Disney's background, we'll discover that his road to success was paved by countless business failures and setbacks. In 1921, Disney built his first company called La Fogram Studio and secured a contract for 6 animations. Shortly after, however, the business struggled to generate enough money to stay afloat. And so, Disney tried to rescue his company through the production of Alice's Wonderland, a short film displaying human action with animation. Each day, Disney slept on the floor of the studio office, showered at the train station, and ate cold beans from a can. Despite his efforts, in 1923, La Fogram went bankrupt and Disney was living in relative poverty. Disney was crushed and heartbroken. He felt like a failure for disappointing friends, family, and investors who had put their faith in him. He swore to make amends and traveled to Hollywood to become a film director. But after several months looking for work, Disney conceded defeat. It was another blow to his ego, another failure on his resume. Disney, however, refused to give up. He got back on his feet and once again reached out to film distributor to showcase his animation, Alice's Wonderland. Disney was lucky the third time. Margaret Winkler, a New York film distributor, got back to Disney and offered $15 for 6 Alice comedies. The animation was well received and the distributor ordered more animations. Shortly after, Disney and his brother Roy created the Disney Brothers Studio, which later became the Walt Disney Company, and the rest is history. Disney's story is an inspiring example of someone who grew up in less than ideal conditions, faced adversity and failure, and yet turned their fortunes around to achieve extraordinary success.
The second case study would be about Steven Spielberg. Steven Allen Spielberg is an American film director, producer, and screenwriter. He is considered one of the founding pioneers of the new Hollywood era and one of the most popular directors and producers in film history. His failures were due to poor grades in high school. Steven Spielberg was rejected from the University of South California 3 times. He was awarded an honorary degree in 1994 and became a trustee of the university in 1996. Since 1980, I've been trying to be associated with the school, jokes the 62-year-old filmmaker. I eventually had to buy my way in, he told the Los Angeles Times. But his success was astounding. He achieved so much that a building is named after him in the same university from which he was rejected 3 times. Spielberg has to date directed 51 films and won 3 Oscars. Forbes magazine puts Spielberg's wealth at $3 billion. Also, the city of Phoenix approved an entrance of the Phoenix Theatre Company to be named after Jurassic Park director Steven Spielberg. To conclude, the project has enabled all of us as a team to learn about the great disparity that exists in the way that people used to deal with setbacks. While some of us get taken back by obstacles easily, there are those who see it a way of achieving greater success. Our survey not only allowed to analyze the general mindset of the people who have faced setback, but also provided them a place to vent as their identities remain confidential. Everyone faces setbacks throughout their lifespans. What varies is their ability to overcome them. Through greater self-esteem, social support, and perseverance, we can all learn how to cope with setbacks and thus lead better and healthier lives.
Can you stop sharing now?
Very well. Let's have a big round of applause for them.
Excellent.
Now, I would like to open the forum for the jury to share their views and ask questions from the team. Aparna ma'am, would you like to ask something from our team?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This was indeed very heartening. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
And the kind of labor that the team has put in, congratulations to them, and I'm truly floored. I mean, I just can't say that I'm impressed, but this is excellent thing. And the topic that you chose is very relevant, and I'm sure it is very close to the heart of these children. मैं एक कविता मुझे याद आती है हजारी लाल द्विवेदी की लहरों से डरकर नौका पार नहीं होती कोशिश करने वालों की हार नहीं होती नन्ही चींटी जब दाना लेकर चलती है चढ़ती दीवारों पर 100 बार फिसलती है मन का विश्वास रगों में साहस भरता है चढ़कर गिरना गिरकर चढ़ना न अखरता है आखिर उसकी मेहनत बेकार नहीं होती कोशिश करने वालों की हार नहीं होती I think this sums up everything. I have a question. I mean, your content was excellent. Your analysis was also excellent. I'm impressed with the case studies, and the movie was good because you took 3 generations and the issues that concern them. I just have a question. You gave 2 case studies. Is it because of the internet that you chose these 2 case studies, which are from the US? Could you not find any from closer home around you or from within India? I mean, both of them, they are filmmakers, huh? So maybe in the films also you find some people who've come up from failures and who got back from the setbacks. That's my question.
Ma'am, actually, I chose Walt Disney because Disney is very close to my heart and I'm a really big fan of that. So that's why I chose my topic, case study, as Walt Disney.
I understand. Oh, that's right. Good. Thank you.
Ma'am, I chose Steven Spielberg because I thought his movies also inspired me in some way to never give up. For example, the Jurassic Park showed how difficult the situation was. The group stayed together and overcame it.
Good. Well, I'm convinced. Nevertheless, along with the question, there's a suggestion that if you look around, maybe you find some good inspirational case studies from around you, from the politics, from the film field, from amongst authors. So maybe if you looked around, that would be very nice. And we talked about setbacks and failures. I would just like to make a suggestion. Again, you know, it's not exactly a question. It's a suggestion that we have a manual for life. I don't know whether you know about that. It is taught in Harvard University, and it's a sacred text. Have you heard of Srimad Bhagavad Gita? It talks about Karma Yoga. It talks about attempts. It talks about efforts. It talks about failures and victories. So I think you youngsters must look at that and take inspiration and lessons from that. I think failure is next stepping stone to the success. Congratulations once again.
Uma ma'am?
Yes. So good evening, and firstly, hearty congratulations. I think that was an amazing presentation. I don't even realize how time went by, because each time I would think, okay, now it's going to end. And I realized there was an additional factor, which was even more profound than the earlier one. So my hearty congratulations to all of you. And thank you for putting in so much of effort. You know, we could really, I could feel and sense the kind of effort and the kind of challenge you must have had in actually collating data and making the presentation. So I would start by just pointing out a few of the, you know, points in the presentation that impressed me a lot. So I was very happy with the personal experiences at the start of the presentation. So I think with that, I could get that personal connect, you know, which is so very important. And it didn't seem just like a PowerPoint presentation, but it was a topic which related to my life and the lives of everyone who is hearing this presentation or seeing the presentation. Then I was very happy with the movie as well. I especially liked the way the grandfather, you know, expressed himself, because probably it's because of the pandemic with old people facing so many problems. You know, it was though the entire movie was really good. Then, of course, I also liked the survey analysis. I think that was very profound and we could really relate to it. So besides these, definitely all that we had shared in terms of, you know, the professional, academic failures, all that was wonderful, you know, talking about depression, talking about suicide, and also talking about how the mental sickness is really a stigma. I think that is a very, very, very important point. And considering the fact that there are so many people of different ages, as you had shared, and especially so in the younger generation now. So I think it's a very relevant topic that you have raised. So I would like to just share a few more points. One is, you know, when we are talking about failure, so I think along with failure comes stress, you know, stress which some of us can cope with, some of us find it very difficult to cope with. And how we can use this stress positively, you know. So I think a little of this could have been added, maybe not in much detail, but I feel it is a very, very important point for each one of us at different age groups. Then I am also going to ask a question. And this question is actually going to come from the conclusion slide. that you have shown. And there, I think Abhimanyu had said that he was talking about social support and perseverance. So these are two terms that we used. So my question is that what is the quality of, what is the life skill that we really require to be able to have perseverance? So anyone can answer. So what is the quality which is very important?
Ma'am, may I answer?
Yes, please.
Ma'am, I think the most important quality would be having a strong will and being completely determined towards your goal to be able to persevere through all odds and finally achieve it.
Okay, great. That's a wonderful answer. Any one more person who'd like to add? Any one more person? I totally agree. Willpower, strong willpower, very important. Anything else? It's a very common term, but very difficult to actually implement in our lives.
Ma'am, to
Anyone?
believe in yourself and hope for the better.
So hope. Thank you so much. That is the word and the term. I'll be honest, I was actually waiting for this throughout the presentation. And I would like to share with you that why I am stressing on the term hope. Because hope is, it's very difficult to have hope, especially when things are bleak all around you. But there is a very scientific reason and the scientific plus point of having hope. So a very good philosopher has said, a very renowned philosopher has said that when you have hope, then every nerve and of your body actually starts moving in a positive direction. And I think this statement should really sum up your entire presentation, because the analysis, the causes, all that you are sharing is for what reason? It is for us to be able to combat this, to be able to overcome this, to be able to become hopeful, to be able to have that kind of willpower that you had spoken about. So hope is a very important point. And whether we get that hope by listening to positive talks, whether it is getting hope by reading good books, whether it is hope by listening to successful stories of people, whatever really suits you, whatever touches your life, you should do that. I would like to share something very personal that, in the organization where I was working, I was really taken aback when I got to know that these young team members in my team, they were right into a spiritual world. And I thought that, okay, maybe spirituality comes more with age and, like probably for people like me who are moving towards, the older years. So, and I was just taken aback, believe me, with their understanding of spirituality, with the application of spirituality. And above all, I will sum up by saying with the kind of strength and the kind of hope they got through this spirituality. So thank you so much for bringing out this term. So a big round of applause to you all. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mama. Shami, ma'am.
Well, thank you. First of all, I would like to appreciate the team effort and great insights that you have brought forward. At this tender age, I think it requires a lot of effort and lot of hard work to arrange all these things. So congratulations, team. It was a well-deserved PPT that you presented. Well, both Aparna ma'am and Uma ma'am both have almost summed up whatever I wanted to say. So I'll just be very brief. First thing was that I also wanted that why not some role models from our own country? Because we were putting up the data from our country. And since we are in our country, we can relate more to the situations that come to us. We can relate to those kinds of people more. So if we find some role models like that. I would like to appreciate a few things in the survey. There was Riva said, learning from failures. So it was a very good thing that we came forward, transforming our, these mistakes or these failures or setbacks into wisdom, insight, and generating compassion within ourselves, rising from the ashes. So it was very fantastic, but it all requires intentional activities on our part, transforming or shifting our mindsets. So if we can put up a certain slide like, is this trait or skill, is it learned or is it genetic? Those kinds of things, plus more solutions, how you can develop resilience, can add up to your the things that you have already gotten into. One question that I will like to have, it's a very quick one. As you said that it's nothing fails like success. So coronavirus has been a very immediate threat to us. So how do you think resilience can help an individual to rise above the adverse situations like this? And what insights can be gained from this kind of adverse situation, like coronavirus? You want me to repeat it?
Could you just repeat it one more time, please?
Sure. So you said coronavirus has been the most recent threat and has asked for all of us to rise above and have resilience in us. So can you tell me, how can this coronavirus help an individual to rise above, develop that resilience? And what are the insights that can be gained from any such kinds of such threats? Because as an adolescent now, you're growing up, you need to develop this trait. If you learn from this, it will help you become a better individual.
Ma'am, first of all, good evening, ma'am. And I think that Corona should not be taken as a setback. It should be taken as a learning experience, that if in the future one more pandemic comes in, then we should be ready at this. And I think that our country, India, has been fighting Corona very it has been a champion. We have and I think after some months Corona will be defeated, and it is not an obstacle. We should never see that Corona as an obstacle. We should see it as a learning experience that we can apply to the future pandemics, or not only pandemics but future problems that we face. And I think this will, if we continue the fighting spirit that we are continuing right now, we Indians, then I think we can totally fight it in the coming months.
Very well said, Riva. So that generates the fighting spirit in us, and it also brings that kind of bonding that we developed. The community support that was generated at this time can help us overcome any kind of adverse situations. Very well said. So I will in the last say, koshish karne walon ki kabhi haar nahi hoti. Thank you very much.
Yes, may I add one more thing what Chavi said about the COVID crisis? Well, all of you have been at home with your families. You may have also seen that your cousins or people, your family, friends, many of them are working from home, and they moved back home and they're working from home. So it has brought people closer to home. It has also created that kind of bonding, like Chavi said. There has been wide-scale migrations, and you would be shocked to see that people moved, and especially the working community who migrate to bigger cities, and there have been millions who moved across. Of course, there was social support, there was governmental support, but communities came forward to help them with the food, to help them with the shelter. And this kind of, the two Europes moving about in a country like ours, that has given us certain surprises. So I would urge you to go back and understand more. It has also taught us, to live in less. Maybe in the past 8 months, you've lived in only 4 or 5 dresses. You haven't gone out to eat. You haven't watched any movies. So COVID is an opportunity, as you said. We should see the opportunity in this challenge, but we should also see that what we have done, we should do more of. Thank you so much. You have done fantastic work. Congratulations, NN team and mentors.
Thank you so much, Aparna ma'am.
Too good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Too good the way you people are have developed this presentation, simple, moving to the complex, and it's a kind of building up the things that were going beautifully. I must say, Komal, Riva, Aryaman, the expression, all these things they have, I feel some certain technical glitches. Otherwise, the way you have presented is wonderful. I want to know, Aryaman, have you ever faced any setback? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
How much time you have taken to recover back?
Ma'am, I faced a major setback a year ago, and it took me months to recover. And ma'am, some daily setbacks are there in regular life, so I recover from them pretty easily.
Okay, okay. Riva.
Yes, ma'am, I've surely faced setbacks in my life. I think everyone has faced setbacks in our life, and the if minor setbacks, I think I face every day-to-day life. We face minor setbacks, but major one was, I think, more than a year back, and that was the one which I had talked about in this presentation. That was the one, my last setback, and I think it took me a month to recover.
Very good.
But
Very
then I was.
that means you are more resilient about how to adapt yourself with changes. Good. Komal.
Ma'am, there are many minor setbacks that I face on daily basis, like not achieving the target that I set for the day. But the major setback that I faced in my life was 2 years ago when I lost my brother. So I'm not still recovered from that setback, but yeah, from family support and things, I'm able to cope with it.
Neha, quickly.
Well, the only major setback I've ever faced was the one I talked about my academic setback. But the other personal setback that I often face, I don't really get moved or anything because I just deal with it. I just prioritize myself mostly while trying my best not to hurt anyone else's feelings. So that's how I deal with it.
Okay, want to know from Anya now.
Ma'am, I feel the last major setback I faced was in school, was in around 10th, 11th grade. It was related to sports. And it took me not years to recover from it, but I learned how to deal with it and to better myself and to achieve more. So that is how I dealt with it.
You know why I am asking this question? Because these setbacks are actually not setbacks. They are challenges. Love these challenges. And then you will see that other people are suffering from setbacks and you are not at all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone. I want to congratulate the team for their marvelous efforts and great teamwork. And I would like to thank everyone for being a part of this delightful evening and taking out your valuable time for this enlightened session. Thank you so much, everyone.